Apple hasn't touched the Apple TV in years, and that silence feels intentional, not delayed, not forgotten, held back. You probably noticed it too. Apple usually refreshes small hardware regularly, even when the changes are minor. But this time, nothing. That gap makes the current Apple TV feel oddly suspended in time, like it's waiting for something underneath to change before Apple is willing to move again. That's where the unease starts. Because when Apple pauses this long, it's rarely about cosmetics. It usually means something internal isn't ready yet. And if that's true, it raises a simple but uncomfortable question for anyone shopping right now. Are you buying something that's closer to the end than it looks? Reports suggest a new Apple TV 4K is targeting 2026, most often framed as a spring release. If you want calm, no hype tech leaks, subscribe. That's all we do here. On the surface, that doesn't sound dramatic, but context matters. This would follow more than 3 years on the same internal foundation. Apple could have pushed out a minor refresh at any point and chose not to. That decision quietly shifts expectations away from small tweaks and toward a deliberate reset. Externally, nothing major is expected to change. The same compact black box, designed to disappear into a living room setup. And that's the point. Apple doesn't need the hardware to look new. It needs the experience to feel new the moment it's turned on. The real shift appears to be processing power. The current Apple TV runs on the A15 chip, which was already aging when it launched. Multiple reports now point toward a major jump, most often referencing an A17 Pro class processor, with some speculation around even newer silicon under consideration. Nothing is confirmed, but the pattern is familiar. Apple waits, then leaps. That leap matters immediately. Faster silicon keeps the interface smooth years into ownership instead of slowly degrading. Apps open without hesitation. Navigation never feels like it's fighting the hardware. More importantly, graphics performance changes what the box can realistically do. This is where the Apple TV stops looking like just a streaming device. Stronger GPU performance reframes gaming entirely. Casual games feel effortless on a large screen. More demanding titles stop feeling compromised. Gaming on a streaming box no longer feels like a novelty. It starts to feel intentional. A jump from A15 level performance to modern A-series silicon changes how users and developers treat the platform. It becomes something you can rely on, not something you tolerate. Apple Arcade benefits instantly, and third-party developers gain a reason to take the hardware seriously instead of designing around limitations. Video output follows the same long-term logic. Several reports mention possible 8K HDR support. That's not about content suddenly switching to 8K. It's about longevity. Sharper interfaces, better scaling, and compatibility with future displays without replacing the box. Connectivity upgrades quietly reinforce that theme. Wi-Fi 6E or even Wi-Fi 7 has been mentioned alongside updated Bluetooth hardware. In real homes, that means fewer dropouts, smoother high bitrate streams, and accessories that just stay connected instead of needing constant troubleshooting. Smart home integration remains central. Thread and Matter support are expected to continue, keeping the Apple TV positioned as a HomeKit hub. With more powerful hardware, that role changes subtly but meaningfully. Camera feeds load instantly. Automations trigger without delay. Voice commands feel immediate. When smart home control works invisibly, it stops feeling like a feature and starts feeling like infrastructure. Pricing is where uncertainty peaks. Some rumors float aggressive numbers near $99, but nothing is confirmed. What is clear is Apple's incentive. The company earns far more from services and ecosystem lock-in than from box margins. A powerful, affordable hub under the television makes strategic sense. If Apple delivers significantly more performance and longevity at or near current pricing, the category shifts. Roku and Amazon compete primarily on cost. Apple would compete on lifespan, capability, and ecosystem depth at a similar price. That's a hard position for competitors to challenge. None of this is confirmed. Apple has said nothing about 2026 hardware, but the pattern is recognizable. A long silence. Aging internals in the current model. Growing overlap between streaming, gaming, and smart home control. When Apple moves after a pause like this, it usually does so with intent. Taken together, The leaks describe something bigger than a routine refresh: faster silicon, stronger graphics, future-ready video output, modern wireless standards, deeper smart home integration. All signs point toward a repositioning, not maintenance. That reframes the buying decision. Purchasing the current Apple TV makes sense only if you need one immediately. Waiting offers access to a device designed to stay fast and relevant far longer. This stops being just about streaming shows. It becomes about convergence. Media, casual gaming, and home control anchored by one box. If even part of these leaks proves accurate, the next Apple TV becomes a foundation rather than an accessory. Most streaming boxes are disposable. They solve a short-term need and get replaced when they feel slow. Apple appears to be pushing the Apple TV out of that cycle, towards something meant to last across an entire generation of televisions and services. For everyday users, the benefit is quiet. The interface never stutters. Apps stay fast years later. New features arrive without pushing the hardware to its limits. For families, the living room becomes simpler. One box handles streaming, gaming, and home control without friction. Profiles switch instantly. Accessories connect reliably. Those small moments define long-term satisfaction. For gamers, the mental barrier disappears. Gaming on a streaming box no longer feels like a compromise. It becomes a casual console alternative that's always ready. For developers, performance headroom reduces compromise. Interfaces grow richer. Visual effects don't need to be stripped back. Over time, the platform improves instead of standing still. That also clarifies Apple's broader strategy. A powerful, affordable box under the television becomes a gateway. It drives services. It strengthens HomeKit. It anchors future features Apple hasn't announced yet. The hardware becomes a foundation, not the profit center. This is why skipping a 2025 update now looks deliberate. Apple didn't rush a minor refresh. It waited, and when Apple waits, the eventual move is usually more meaningful. So the payoff becomes clear. Buying today isn't wrong, but it's short-sighted. Waiting aligns a purchase with the start of a new cycle instead of the end of an old one. The price difference matters less than years of added relevance. If the leaks are even partially accurate, the next Apple TV won't just compete with streaming sticks. It will compete with the idea that a living room needs multiple devices to do different jobs. One box, one ecosystem, fewer compromises. And after a silence this long, that feels exactly like the kind of move Apple would make. If you care more about what's changing than what's launching, you'll want to subscribe.